Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Super Sports Central. Today, we're going to be going over my Week 8 UFL power rankings. So, briefly recapping Week 7, the Renegades destroyed the Showboats, winning 47-23. The Stallions beat the Battlehawks 30-26. The Panthers defeated the Defenders 22-9. And finally, the Brahmas escaped the Roughnecks with a 15-12 victory. So, getting into this week's rankings, at number 8 or last, we have the Showboats. The Showboats got demolished by the previously winless Renegades as they lost by a score of 47-23. And this was just an awful performance, because not only did they lose to a team that was winless coming into this week, but they lost by 24 points. Their offense was decent, putting up 23 points, 230 passing yards, and 96 rushing yards, but they've had the worst defensive performance for any team of the season. They allowed a league-high 47 points, which is the most any team allowed, and they also allowed 415 yards and 7.5 yards a play. And their defense on the year is now allowing 31.1 points a game. But the Showboats, they just need this season to end as soon as possible. They're easily the league's biggest disappointment. A lot of people had high expectations for them coming into the year. They're 1-6, have lost 6 games in a row, and aren't even competitive as they have lost 5 straight games by at least 15 points. But the Showboats, easily the league's worst team, and they're at number 8. Number 7, we have the Arlington Renegades. They got their first win of the season with a 47-23 win over the Showboats. They dominated this game all around. Their offense was amazing, scoring a league-high 47 points, and they just did a lot of things really well on the offensive side of the ball. Quarterback Luis Perez had 296 passing yards and 3 touchdowns, and on the ground, running back Devion Smith had 14 carries for 104 yards and another 2 scores. And then defensively for the Renegades, it wasn't great, allowing over 300 yards and 23 points, but the offense dominated this game and led them to their first win of the season, after they had come very close in several previous games. But the Renegades, finally in the win column, they're at number 7. Coming in at number 6, we have the Houston Roughnecks. So they're at number 6 after another loss, which drops them to 1-6 on the season. The Roughnecks lost to the Brahmas 15-12, and they lost on a walk-off field goal. But I'm putting a lot of blame for this loss on the Roughnecks offense. They were awful. They scored just 12 points, all of which came from field goals. But shout out to kicker J.J. Molson, who went 4 for 4, including nailing a 62-yarder. But the offense was terrible, as it has been all season for the Roughnecks. They switched quarterbacks going back to Week 1 starter Jarrett Guarantano, looking for a spark. That didn't work. Guarantano finished with just 121 passing yards. And on the ground, the Roughnecks were decent, but nothing great. 82 rushing yards on 3.6 yards a carry. Now, the Roughnecks defense played really well. They allowed just 15 points in total, allowed just 3 points going into the fourth quarter, and they also forced 4 turnovers throughout the course of the game. Now, they did allow 12 points in the final 3 minutes, but as I said before, I'm not putting this loss on the defense. The defense definitely played well enough for the Roughnecks to win this game. If their offense even played a somewhat decent game, the Roughnecks would have won. After another terrible offensive performance, Roughnecks at 1-6, number 6 in my power rankings. Number 5, we have the Defenders. They lost 22-9 against the Panthers, and this is a game the Defenders could not afford to lose, because they're now 2 games out of the playoff spot, which is 3 games to play, so their playoff chances are not looking good. The Defenders' offense was not very good, scoring just 9 points, although statistically they were decent with 5.3 yards a play. They just could not find a way to score. The Defenders also now have a lot of offensive injuries, as starting quarterback Jordan Teamu left the game with a concussion, although should be good to go for Week 8. And backup quarterback DeAndre Francois also left the game, and he's out for the season with a leg injury. And then their leading receiver, Kelvin Harmon, is out for the season with a hamstring injury. So a lot of injuries for the Defenders on the offensive side of the ball. And moving to the defensive side of things, the Defenders struggled against the run again, allowing 187 rushing yards this week, and that comes after allowing 200 rushing yards last week. So the Defenders now 3-4 on the season, and it'll be an uphill battle to make the playoffs. Number 4, we have the Brahmas. They dropped from number 3 to number 4 after they barely beat a terrible Roughnecks team. They won 15-12 on a walk-off field goal. The Browns' offense struggled for the second straight week. They scored just 15 points in total, but had just 3 points in the first 3 quarters. Quarterback Quentin Dormady had another bad game. He finished with just 142 yards and an interception on just a 41.7% completion percentage. And now in 4 starts, Quentin Dormady has thrown for 654 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 6 picks. Dormady actually got benched midway through this game for Kevin Hogan, who made his UFL debut and led the Brahmas to tie and eventually win the game. But the Brahmas, they now have a decision to make as far as the quarterback position goes, because they can either go back to starting Dormady, they can start Kevin Hogan, they can start third-string quarterback Jaden DeWara, who they signed a few weeks ago, or they can go sign another player. Now, there's been some rumors about them potentially signing Ben DiNucci after he was released by the Broncos last week, but DiNucci has ruled out that possibility, saying he doesn't want to play in the UFL this season. But the Brahmas desperately need to figure out the quarterback position moving forward. Outside of the quarterback spot, the Brahmas did not run the ball very well, just 2.7 yards a carry, and their defense was good, allowing just 12 points and 185 total yards, but I think that's more just facing a horrible offense. But the Brahmas barely got the win, but a win is a win, no matter how ugly it is, and they're at number 4, still in the second playoff spot in the XFL. Coming in at number 3, we have the Panthers. So they beat the Defenders by a score of 22-9, and also clinched a playoff spot in the process. The Panthers' offense played well, as they ran the ball extremely effectively, rushing for 187 yards and 2 scores on 6 yards a carry. And the Panthers as a team threw for 153 yards, and they played 2 quarterbacks, both of which made their UFL debuts. Brian Wilberg started the game, but was benched midway through the game, throwing for just 37 yards, before Bryce Perkins came in and played the remainder of the game, finishing with 116 yards. Now, after this game, where the Panthers played 2 quarterbacks, they have now played 4 quarterbacks throughout the season. And to be this good, clinching a playoff spot, that is a great job done by Mike Nolan and that coaching staff. But on the defensive side of the ball in this game, the Panthers were also great, allowing not just 9 points. They had 3 sacks and 7 tackles for loss. But the Panthers clinched a playoff spot, and they're at number 3 in my power rankings. Coming at number 2, we have the Battlehawks. They remain at number 2 despite the 30-26 loss against the Stallions. Even though they lost, they played pretty well, and I think they definitely showed they're the second best team in the UFL. Quarterback AJ McCarron didn't play the greatest game for his standards, with just 161 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. But McCarron actually suffered an ankle injury late in the third quarter. But the good news is he didn't miss a snap, but that is something to monitor heading into their Week 8 matchup against the Defenders. Now, while McCarron didn't have the most amazing game, Jacob Sailors was great, as he found the end zone 3 times, finishing with 58 scrimmage yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and a receiving touchdown. And then the Battlehawks defense, which had been very good all season, wasn't great, but I also don't think it's the reason they lost. I just think they were facing a really good Stallions team. But the Battlehawks, definitely the number 2 team in the UFL, and I think we'll see the Battlehawks against the Stallions one more time this season, that time in the championship game. And number 1, it is the Stallions. They're now 7-0 after beating the Battlehawks by a score of 30-26 in a great game. They're now probably headed for an undefeated season, but they got the win over the second best team in the UFL and didn't even play a great game. They played a good game, but there's still definitely some things where they can improve. Their offense was great, scoring 30 points, and quarterback Adrian Martinez had another great game, throwing for 230 yards, 3 touchdowns, also adding 60 rushing yards. And I think after this performance, Martinez is very clearly the MVP frontrunner. The Stallions also ran the ball effectively, as they rushed for 142 yards and a score on 5.5 yards a carry. And then on the defensive side of the ball, the Stallions' defense was solid against a great offense, allowing only 214 total yards. Now, I said the Stallions have some areas to improve, and one area is special teams, because they played a really bad game on special teams against the Battlehawks. They made a lot of mistakes. They muffed a punt, which led to a Battlehawks score. They missed a field goal, and also had a punt blocked, which gave the Battlehawks a chance at the very end of the game. But the Stallions, even despite those special teams miscues, still got the win against the second best team. That just goes to show how good they are. They're 7-0, the league's only undefeated team, and they're obviously at number 1 in my power rankings. But those are my Week 8 UFL power rankings. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, turn notifications. I do my best to post as often as possible. Let me know in the comments if you agree with my rankings, disagree, and why. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, turn notifications. I do my best to post as often as possible. And I will see you in the next video.